Hey, what's going on everyone? Supreme Kama here. So in today's video, we will actually be going over the two new units over here. Not really new units, but Revive plus a new alternation for the Destiny Gundam and the Double O Riser. These two banner you can say is pretty valued, I would say, because you do get alternation tool, which is a very valuable item in this game. Just to being able to do limited and permanent alternation, you need that tool over there. So I would say this one is a good banner. And then as well, if you complete, I think up to step 5, you do get 2 tickets where you can exchange for. You get 2 tickets where you can either exchange for the Destiny or Double Riser. So I think if, for example, you didn't pull like the part you really want, you can obviously go to the tickets and just pick out the part you like. In terms of the stat overall, like obviously I'll have the Excel sheet up in the side. Like overall, they're not really that bad. With the new alternation they receive, they're looking pretty good up on the list. But like any other week, these new units are not too many differences in terms of stat. Maybe you can say from like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. They're like just about just 100 or so differences. So it doesn't really matter overall because like the amount of resources that you have to dump into just upgrading it, everything, putting all the gold marks, I think that's a more hassle than just keeping the part you have. I think mainly we want to look at is probably going to be the set of word tag we have, and then like the portrait. I think those are the two determining factor of like, all right, are these two units good enough? So without further ado, let's hop in with Destiny. Over here we have 8 parts to go through. So keep in mind that all the shot stat and for these two units will be non-existent because both this kit are geared towards melee centric builds. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna compare these two to just see, all right, which one is a better value for your arm horror. So alright, so with the Destiny over here max bidding out, the melee attack is not going to be too impressive overall, coming in at 19. But in terms of your part tray, so Alpha Job license, close shot attack raised by 20%. And then with blade category, so keep in mind this unit is centric toward using the blade because this have like a sword. So like the sword actually is called blade in this game, so kind of just found out recently. So blade category equipped, melee power increased by 35%. So I don't know if I don't think there's like too many good, like obviously there are pretty good blade weapon, but I think they are tied into like an EX skill, which you don't really want if doing like a melee build. So I think this one in terms will be a little bit more limited if it's just based on like if this is stuck to like a blade category. But obviously if you guys are running skins, that is easy fix. You just have to throw in like a blade to your skin and this problem will be solved. So even though it's a pretty good second portrait, but the first portrait kind of kills it by having that close shot attack raised by 20%. In a melee build, I don't think you will need any shot attack raise, so the header will not be a good part to even get or alternated. Status no good. The war tag and like for these two units are kind of wonky because they tend to throw in Gundam type as the tag, which is more for like a shot build. But then again, because these are like older, so the war tag are a little bit more not cohesive in a way. So moving on to the chest, over here. In terms of the stat is looking so far so good, like just right into the middle of like the really high tier. But I think the portrait does make up for it like by significantly. With another blade category equipped, melee power boosted by 30%, that's solid. And then back part EX skill boosted by 35%, that is good. That is an excellent portrait over here. If you guys do happen to have the chest, well actually you don't really need to. If you guys have the chest and then you guys have some material C laying around, maybe you don't want to summon, you can actually just go into the shop and exchange for the L badge specifically to the Destiny. There's no more requirement to like summoning because they do allow you to trade in the ZZ material to get the L badge, so that's pretty nice. I think the chest is really good because these two are not really like too restrictive, I would say. With the blade category equipped like blade weapon, I think that's the easy problem to fix in your skin. As for the back part, if you guys are like a competitive like arena player, This is pretty important. This is like dedicated to like your backpack EX skill. So backpack EX, there are a lot of EX skill that primarily support like the backpack EX skill. So I think this one adding on to the collection will allow your backpack to do way more damage than, like, for example, your arm EX skill or leg EX skill. Not saying that there aren't a lot that support those, but from what I've seen so far, backpack is the one that that's the favorite to be supporting. So this is a good. I would actually alternate this myself, but I have limited resources, so we would not be doing any. I have done my alternation, but just not for the destiny. Well, let's not say I didn't. I did actually, but we'll go over that as we go along. All right, as for the arm, if I can click on this guy, as for arm, the stat is looking, you would say, mediocre. As for the arm in a melee build is really important. So obviously you want to go for something a little bit more higher, which I have gone over numerous times that are arms that are like way better than this one. And then you have an EX skill over here, which you have to subslot something that has a portrait. I think the 1/100 scale arms would be a simple fix for this, because you have pretty good vortex that you can run as a subslot. There's a lot that's pretty good. But would you alternate this arm? I don't think the stat justify for it, because this one doesn't have a portrait, only EX skill, and I wouldn't recommend altering the arm at all. Just a bad piece of arm overall. In terms of the leg, I think that leg is pretty solid actually. You're looking pretty good in the top 10 actually. We did take a look at the EX skill, not excuse me, the portrait. I think the portrait is again another selling point over here. This one is when you have P attribute or power attribute, EX skill reduction by 20%. This one is good. And then shot attack raised by 10%, EX skill power boosted by 35%. So this is a A1 top tier portrait over here. Primarily you want to run this one on like a longer event, so you can like you can run up to like 90 to like 100% cooldown reduction, so you can always use your EX skill. So this one will be a pretty good candidate to just run for like your multi-mission, for example, multi-mission, or like even those limited time multi-mission we have, like it takes a little bit longer. So having this pair of leg like will be a lifesaver at times. There are other leg that is like you have the unicorn phoenix that have the same condition, but I think this one is better because the second portrait is universal. This is like any EX skill from head to the shield will work. So this one is, if you have the leg, go for it. This one is pretty good for like your power attribute build, for a melee power attribute build. So go for it. This one is good. I will recommend this one. And just a portrait, you do have some kind of melee support. High firepower is the bridge, so you can actually subslot a 1/100 scale alt Barbados form, that I believe has a Gundam type. Not Gundam type. Is it Gundam type as well? I believe so. You can, if that's so, you can get it up to a 40.5% parameter. So yeah, go for this one then. This one, the leg is good. All right, moving on to the backpack. Over here is a EX skill over here. This is a custom EX skill, so I don't think the stat really needs to be set, because if anything this will probably be on a skin. We do have EX skill over here. This is like the wing of light. This is similar if you guys have the Force Impulse backpack. Literally the same animation, it's just that it does like the wing of light when he opens up the wing, and then it has those really sparkling effects. This is even good for alternation, but let's do see S power again, D Pierce. It's gonna raise your speed of your swap by 20%, melee power up to your swap by 39%, and then shot defense by 19%. We have seen better. I would actually like to have health recovery if possible. I mean, speed is not bad. You can outrun your enemy just a little bit more faster, but I think having a health recovery will be a little bit more better. I think that if you're purely someone that looks into this like the cinematic EX skill, I think the Destiny Gundam Hidden Western Flux version may be a little bit more better. It does the sword and the beam cannon, so you have a little bit more animation, but in terms of power, because the hidden version has the beam cannon shot. So driving from a category melee, like a melee attack, yeah, your power will be a little bit lower than this one. But overall, it's pretty good. If you guys do need some cutscene E skill, I mean, you can go for it. But if you guys have a pretty handful of cutscene E skill, I don't think it's really necessary. Just go for another. Maybe if Destiny is like your favorite unit, sure, go for it. But otherwise, there's really no need for more, right? For more cutscene, because it's just the animation we're trying to see, and then like the effects is like they're all around. It's like really similar. Like even doing these two summoning, for example, like if you guys have a really well out build already, there's really no point of continuing to summon for furthermore, right? I think at that point it's really best to summon for dupes. I don't think summoning for anything new would contribute to your box overall, if that makes sense. Like me, I have a lot of parts, right? A lot of parts that are like sitting at level 1s. I keep continue summoning. It's this part I can't really use at that point, right? If I have parts that are like all level 99, there's really no reason for me to summon on, unless for like really like, alright, really outlandish part in a way. So yeah, so moving on to the sword over here. Is it how I don't even know how to pronounce the sword, to be honest. I'll probably look up the what do you call it, pronunciation soon, you know. I am really bad with pronouncing these kind of weaponry. Yep. This side is not looking too impressive, I would say. And the portrait, ooh, you have a static increases, which is something you can just skip. Second portrait is kind of it's a little bit restrictive, because you have to shoot down one enemy. So if you are doing 1v1 arena, you're like, huh? Am I ever gonna get that 35% buff? You're not. So I think the sword is a skip as well. Moving on to the beam rifle over here. Nowadays a lot of beam rifle, even the revive alternator one, they tend to give, if the unit is overall like a melee centric ones, they do like to throw in some melee supports over here. So you are looking at 12k melee attack over here, like for my rifle. So it's not too bad, but obviously there are a lot of better choices. Like if you guys have the 007 sword, that buster rifle, I think currently is the highest shot no, melee stat offered it from a ranged weapon. So in terms of the portrait over here, you have a drop gauge increased by 17%. I mean drop gauge are pretty important, but it's not important to a point where you really need it on like a portrait, I would say. And the second portrait, you have weapons reload speed down by 10%, then EX boosted by 35%. That part is good, but I don't think a job gauge increases is something that's too important, unless you guys are running like supporting type unit. Then I guess for like multi-mission. So otherwise I don't think this beam rifle deserves a alternation overall. Speaking of the shield over here, the shield is something I did alternate myself personally. It's pretty good. You got pretty good stat coming at rank 1 for the melee stat currently. If the the Sengoku Astray ever gets the alternation, the shield will probably output better than this one. But until then, this one will be a pretty good option. Good word check to sub in for the 1/100 scale or 872 shield. That's what I'm currently running right now. In terms of portrait, this is a good pair of excellent trait over here. You have power attribute, buff EX skill effects up by 23%. So I have gone over this one already. So let's say if we come back over here, right? Destiny has a buff if you guys activate like the EX skill, so you're gonna get a 30%, right? So if you pair that 22% buff effects up, so you are basically doing 30% times 1.22. So I think you come out to about, what is it, maybe like a 50% buff instead of a 30. So that's how those buffs actually work. Those buffs are actually really powerful. Like if you for multi-mission purposes, like if your full squad is buffing you, you can do like a crazy amount of damage just to know that, oh, I can achieve that kind of number. In terms of the second portrait, well, do keep in mind that at level 1 you are only looking at 4%, which is a little bit low. Kind of wish they could have been like a little bit higher, like maybe around 6 to 7. 4 is a little bit too low balling. But in terms of the second portrait, we power attribute again. You get a buff skill time up by 30%. So that is the same condition. For example, like a max out buff, like an archer buff, or like a static combat stat up, whatever that thing is called. I think the duration is usually 51 seconds at max, so like a 37 second at max. So basically take that 30 seconds times this, and then you will know like, all right, how much longer I'll get. So overall, I think what to really alternate for this guy over here, probably gonna be the chest, leg, and the shield. Those are the 3 I would really recommend if you guys really need some good option. But if you guys do have a good setup already, I don't think you guys really need to summon furthermore. So up next, we will be talking about the double riser. Alright, up next we will be talking about the double riser. Wow, they are really trying to push out all the double content lately, huh? So the only thing we are missing right now will be the Raphael Gundam, and then other than that, they can go back to the second season and do like the GNHW version of all 3 of the main. Well, no, actually we don't actually have Arnios and Seri, so those 2 should be coming out fairly soon, by the looks of things, just busting out all these double kit. But back to the double riser over here, we just actually have the Quanta, and I think in my opinion, I think the Quanta is maybe like on the same run of this one, or maybe this one just a little bit slightly better in terms of like here and there, like in terms of some parts. But overall, let's take a look over here. In terms of the head over here, it's pretty high up into the list. Like rank number 5 is like, oof, you're looking on like all the way to the moon, kind of like high over here. In terms of the portrait, this suffers what I explained from the double Quanta. You have an enemy shooting power reduction by 30%, which is something fulfilling for like a supporting role. And then you do have yourself a buff over here if you are using infighter job, melee power boosted by 35%. I think with this level of like rank in the like for the melee stat, I think you can probably subslot something to get a better trade. I should have actually altered the double Quanta head, because I think that one is still a little bit more, it's still a bit higher than the double riser, which is good. Definitely good. Good, really excellent word tags over here. Both Destiny and Double are kind of more on like a melee build. Destiny being more of like a all-rounder, but Double is taking a kick over here with having a higher stats and everything. So if you guys do really need a melee unit, probably go for the double riser. But at the end of the day, it's your personal preference. It just depends on like, alright, which one unit you like the most. I think that's the fair game to play instead of just always focusing on the stat, which you know. Moving on to the chest over here. As for the chest, I'll probably give it to the Destiny just because of how a little bit more versatile the EX skill is. In terms of portrait for the chest over here, it's the same as the Destiny actually. You are doing buffs over here. This one, if you are using an infighter, EX skill power boosted by 35%. So the second portrait over here, we've got attacking with beam melee power boosted by 35%. So this one is a little bit too restrictive, so you can't really use any of your physical EX skill. That we will not get the 35% buff to the EX skill power, which is a little bit unfortunate. But there are a lot of good options for like beam EX skill, so I think you're safe on that. But that right here, that restriction right here, I think that put this guy, it's kind of like a downfall. I'll say just a minor downfall. Obviously you can work around with it just using like beam EX skill, but I will like to have something that's a little bit more universal, so you can pair that up with anything with no problem. So you know, if you guys do really need that buff over here, I will probably, this one, the word tag over here is really like tempting to just off this one instead of the what is it, the Destiny one. But it really depends on which one you pull. If you pull, like if you do pull both of them, I probably still suggest maybe the Destiny a little bit more. That's my preference over there. Now moving on to the arm. Then again, the stat is excellent. The stat on this arm over here does actually takes over the double Quanta, coincidentally, just a little bit, just by one actually. Quanta actually comes in at 3 right now. So in terms of the EX skill over here, let's take a look at War Tag first. Close combat and high firepower, really excellent pair of War Tag over here. In terms of the portrait over here, you are looking at a melee crit, which is like kind of trash in this game, to be honest. Like unless they do find like a better way to like kind of a war having crit. When buffed it, melee battle boosted by 35%. So this will not be activated if no buffs are activated, like are active. So so basically you are entering the match with like this portrait not even being non-existent. So you have to probably activate like your EX. Some EX skill does come with buffs. So upon after that, you will get this 35%. But before that, you are looking at 0. This that big old 0. So with that restriction over here and that crit over here, I don't think this one would be a good choice. Even though you have a pretty good set of like the set is really high up there, but I think you can just probably use something else just a little bit, just to make your life a little bit more easier. Or you can subslot something, maybe like a 1/100 scale arm. I think that would be good. That would be a good option as well. Alright, moving on to the leg over here. So the leg actually is on par in terms of stat, that melee stat. It is exactly the same as the double quanta, and then the double quanta does have a portrait, which is 10 times better than having EX skill over here. This is still coming in at B power. Wow, they couldn't even bump it up to like an A-. Wow, good job. So this one, if you guys do pull it, I mean, if you are just trying to get the stats, you're gonna have to subslot something that's have a pretty good war tag and a good EX skill. I don't know if any of the 1/100 has a good set portrait skill where you really want to do that. So I don't think the leg is anything you want to alternate in general. Alright, moving on to the backpack over here, we have Awakening Transcend Burst over here. This is probably one of the top tier Awakening skill over here. If you are someone that mains like a supporting role unit for like your multi mission, I think this one is a pretty well-rounded. This one covers everything. You get a speed increases, you get a health restoration, you get all the defenses, right? You get melee and shot defense, and then you also get beam and physical resistance. So you are pretty much impenetrable for that. For example, 51 second duration. So wow, props to this over here. So this Awakening is actually not gonna be a bad part to alternate just to fulfill that supporting role element. So this one is actually good if you guys do want to help up your squad mate like a little bit. So pretty good for alternation, I would say. Alright, moving on to GN Sword 2 over here. Instead not as for the weapons, I am comparing them to every possible melee weapon. So we are looking at rank number 12. So that being said, I think the highest we have right now is 11,300. So you are only looking at about 500 differences, which is not a lot. It's not a lot. The portrait, we have one of those job gauge, which is kind of not useless, but not really necessary, because if you have like a 3-star left arm, you automatically come into the match with like around 80% job gauge full. So I think that is enough to like last to like any of your long event. That's not for long event, but like just medium short event, I think that would cover it. So that job gain increases, I don't think it's too necessary. Good second portrait as well. This one is locked behind that rifle category equipped. I think that's easily done with that skin. Just attach like a rifle and then you're good to go. But would I odds this one? Probably not. The stat is not too impressive, I would say. Not that it's not impressive, but just that portrait kind of ruins it in a way, having that job gain increases. Alright, moving on to GN Sword 3 over here, the sword mode. Status, if you guys are looking for example like an EX skill, this one obviously being the Rising Sword, it looks cool, right? But what is something cooler? If you have the double 7 sword version, it comes with the Buster, the GN. Is it the GN 4 Buster Sword, or I forgot what GN Sword was it, but it's a Buster Sword, which does I think a Rising Sword again. but that riser sword comes with a melee buff, which this unit actually needs to be able to activate that second job, that second portrait for the arm. So if you guys have the GM Buster Sword, I don't think this one is a good candidate. The stat for the GM Buster Sword is higher than this one as well. So this one is a skip as well, actually. Alright, the last one over here, we have the GM Sword 3 Rifle and Bow. Granted, this one does buff hefty on that melee attack, but is this the one you really need to alternate? Probably not. If you guys have the double sky beam rifle, it's exactly the same thing and a little bit more higher in stats. So this one is probably not something you, I mean, you can have it if you are building stuff that are coming out of high firepower. I'm mainly using this right now because I am using a high firepower tag, and I think this one is a little bit more easy to satisfy. So good bow portrait for sure. If you guys are lacking some initial cooldown, I think this might be a pretty good investment as well. So overall for the double riser, there are not too many parts to really consider alternation. Maybe just the chest and the beam rifle, a sort of arm, even though you have really good stats. But I think it's a little bit more restrictive. You have that crit, just not useful, and then you have a buff that you can't really activate upon using some form of buff. So that's gonna limit it in a way, I would think. So if you guys do find this review for this part helpful, do let me know, and then subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff. So, and then I shall catch you guys on the next one.